Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I haven't done a video like this before, so this is all very new to me, but I just recently made a bucket hat like this one. I'll show you what it looks like on, but like cute, very cute bucket hat. And I had a couple people who wanted to know how I made it, like a little tutorial. So this is the tutorial. Let's get started. Alright, let's go ahead and start off with a supplies list for this project. Everything you will need. As you can see, I used 4 different colors for my granny square, and the outline color green is what we use for the rest of the hat. You can use whatever colors you want. These are just the colors that I chose to go with. So we have orange, yellow. All of my yarn is from Red Heart Super Saver. That is the brand I used. I would say it was about $3 per roll, and you only need 1 bundle of each color. Now on this one you can see it says to use a 5.5 hook, but we will not be using a 5.5 hook because we want our stitches to be closer together to form the perfect hat. So we'll be using a 4.5 hook. You want to make sure you're using one size down from whatever size yarn you are using. And we will also be using a threading needle. Mine's plastic, it's totally okay. And this is optional, but stitch counters, I find them to come in handy. You can also use a bobby pin or a safety pin, and it's not a make or break for your project. So if you don't have these, don't stress about it. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with our granny squares. We're going to start with the center orange area. So go ahead and grab your orange yarn and go ahead and pull out a couple inches to get started with. We're going to start our project like most projects start, with a slip knot. If you don't know how to do a slip knot, I try to demonstrate it here. Once your slip knot is made, you go ahead and put your hook through it and tighten it around your hook. Now to start this project off, we're going to chain 5. And in order to chain, you're going to want to yarn over and pull through the loop. So count each chain, you should end up with 5. Once you're done with that, you should have 5 chains, and you're going to want to insert your hook into the first chain and slip stitch your last chain together with the first one to make a loop. So now you should have what kind of looks like a tiny little donut with a hole in the center. We're going to be working through the center hole. So now you're going to chain 3. And then you're going to do 15 double crochets into the loop. So in order to do a double crochet, you are going to yarn over, insert your hook into the hole in the center, yarn over, pull through. You should have 3 loops on your hook now. Yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, and you should have 2 left, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2. So that is 1 double crochet. So you're going to keep doing those until you've done 15 total. I'll go ahead and demonstrate another one. Yarn over, insert your hook into the hole, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops only, yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. Now you want to try and adjust and pull. Like you can see, I'm pulling my double crochets down a little just to make more room. So you're going to want to keep doing your double crochets all the way around until you've done a total of 15 double crochets. Alright, now that we are back with our finished 15 double crochets, I'm going to show you how to finish off this color. So you're going to take your hook, and we will be slip stitching it into that little space next to where you chained 3 in the very beginning. So you're going to go ahead and slip stitch, and I like to slip stitch into the next stitch as well, so a total of 2 slip stitches, just to make sure nothing comes apart or unravels at all. So this is kind of what you should have going on. And then you're going to take your scissors and you're going to go ahead and cut off a nice little length of yarn, not too long, not too short, and go ahead and take your hook and pull your thread all the way through. This is called fastening off. So you fastened off, now your orange is done, and we can go ahead and move on to the next color. For me, the next color is yellow. So go ahead and grab your yellow yarn, and I can show you how to attach the yellow to the orange. So I've seen people attach yarn in a lot of different ways, but this is how I do it. I haven't had any issues with things coming apart doing it this way. So if you have a certain way of doing things, go ahead and do it that way. But I go ahead and pull through the yarn, through one of the stitches, it doesn't matter which stitch, and then I just basically tie a double knot. Make sure it's super tight. And once it's done, I put my hook through the same stitch I tied it in, and I pull it through once like that. So I have a little loop to work with. So now that your yellow is attached, we're going to go ahead and do what are called puff stitches. Pull up the loop a bit to have some more height so it's not too tense. You're going to yarn over and insert your hook into the same stitch as the joining, and then you're going to go ahead and pull through. There should be 3 loops on your hook. Then you're going to do this again. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through. There should be 5 loops on your hook now, and then you're going to do it again. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through. There should be a total of 7 loops on your hook. You might have to pull them apart a little to see. But once there are 7, you're going to yarn over and pull through everything on your hook. You might have to go a little slow. You can see I have a little trouble with it, but go a little slow so you don't get tangled up like I did. And once that is done, you're going to chain 1 just to lock all of it in. And that is 1 puff stitch. So you're going to want to pull to get less tension, yarn over, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through. And you want to make sure you're doing this all in 1 stitch. Yarn over, pull through everything, and finish it off with chaining 1 just to lock it all in. And you're just going to want to keep doing that over and over until you've done a total of 16. Okay, so now that you've finished your 16 puff stitches, you should have something that looks a bit like this. And we're going to do exactly what we did to finish the orange. We're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the next stitch, pull through. Oh, I lost it. Slip stitch into the next stitch, and go ahead and slip stitch again, just to make sure that it's all very, very tight and not going to unravel on us later. And then do what we did with the orange. Grab your scissors, cut off a fairly good length, and go ahead and fasten off. So now that we are done with our yellow, we can move on to the next color, which for me is white. So go ahead and get the white, or whatever color you're using, and we'll go ahead and attach it the same way we attached the yellow to the orange. You're going to insert your hook between the puff stitches. So this isn't like an exact stitch, it's actually just the space gap between each petal. And then you're going to go ahead and pull it through and double knot like we did with the yellow. Now we're going to do 16 bobble stitches. Now, in order to do a bobble stitch, you want to pull up your yarn to have less tension, like we did last time, yarn over, insert into the same stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through only the first 2 stitches. And we're going to keep going. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2, and now you should have 2 loops on your hook. Ignore the first loop. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 again. So now you should have 3 loops, not including the first loop. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. Now you should have 4, not including your first loop, and yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops again. Now you should have a total of 5 of those loops if you are not counting the very, very first loop. And once you have 5, ignoring the first loop, you want to yarn over and pull through all of those loops at once, and go ahead and chain 2 to lock it all in. And that is 1 bobble stitch. So you're going to want to do a total of 16 of these stitches. So once again, you're going to want to pull for less tension, yarn over, insert into the next space between the petals, yarn over, pull through 2. That gives you your first stitch, and you're going to want to keep doing that until you have done it 5 times. And you can see I struggle a little to keep the yarn from separating. You want to make sure you're not doing that too quickly. You just keep yarning over and pulling through the first 2 loops until you've done it 5 times. And you want to make sure you're working between the petals, not just on the stitch, but in the gap between each yellow petal. So yarn over, pull through everything, and make sure you chain 2 to finish off your bobble stitch. So now go ahead, pause the video, and do 16 total and come back. Okay, now that we are back, we have done 16 bobble stitches and we are ready to finish with white. So we're going to do with the same thing we did with everything else. You're going to go ahead and finish off your last 2 chains like normal, and then slip stitch into the next stitch, and then of course slip stitch again, because that's how we make sure nothing comes unraveled. And then you're going to want to go ahead and fasten off just like the other ones. Now we can finally move on to our last color, green. In my case it's green, but whatever you pick, awesome, go for it. So you're going to go ahead and get your green yarn or whatever color you're using and pull it up to the table. And we're going to attach the green yarn, you guessed it, exactly how we've been attaching every other color thus far. Go ahead, pull it through, double knot it, you know the drill. You should get this down by now. This is like what, the 3rd color change, 4th color change? So yep, go ahead and double knot that bad boy. And hook to pull it through. Now, to start off, to make the edge, this is going to be a little more difficult, you're going to do 3 chains. Chain 3, and you're going to do 2 double crochets, all in the same gap, same stitch area. So 2 double crochets, and we learned how to do double crochets in the beginning, but if you need a refresher, it's yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Okay, so now that you've done these 2 double crochets, in the next gap between the white petals, you're going to do 3 half double crochets. Now, a half double crochet is yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, and you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And that is a half double crochet. So you're going to want to do that 2 more times in the same space. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. And then you're going to move on to the next gap where you will do 3 double crochets. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the second 2 loops. After you've done those 3 double crochets, you're going to do, in the next gap, you're going to do 3 treble crochets. Now, if you know what a treble crochet is, you're going to yarn over twice. There should be 3 loops. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. Now you're going to want to do 3 of those, so 2 more. And make sure you're working in the same gap that you've been working in. And once you're done with the 3 treble crochets, you're going to chain 2. This is going to be the corner of your granny square. And continuing to work in this space to finish the corner, you're going to do 3 more treble crochets. You can see how I pull down the stitches to make a little more room. And that should finish off your corner. So now that your corner is done, you just repeat the process again. So 3 double crochets into the next gap, then 3 half double crochets into the next gap, and then again 3 double crochets into the next gap between petals. And you're just going to want to do that all the way around until you have something that looks like this. Now I'm going to go ahead and label these so you can kind of see what should go where. So now that you've completed that, you're going to want to go ahead and do what we always do and slip stitch into that first chain 3 gap that you made, and then slip stitch into the next stitch. But we are keeping this color, so we're going to keep slip stitching until we get to the gap between the 3 double crochets and the 3 half double crochets. So where my finger just pokes through, you're going to want to slip stitch there, and then we're going to go ahead and do the outer border of our granny square. I can kind of show you, I'll give you the rundown a little bit of how this will be different. So the corners have 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochet, and then it's 3 double crochet, 3 double crochet, 3 double crochet all the way across. Each corner is 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. So it is a little less complicated than the first outline. So going in, you're going to chain 3, and then go ahead and do 2 double crochets into the same gap that we're working in. And then into the next gap, we're going to do 3 double crochets. And then again into the next gap, 3 double crochets. And then once you get to the corner, in order to form the next corner, you're going to want to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, and another 3 double crochets to finish the corner. So along the sides of your outline, you are just doing 3 double crochets, and then on every corner, it's 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. So go ahead and repeat that until you finish off the rest of your outline. Okay, now that you've done the last outline and you're ready to fasten off, we're going to do what we've been doing this whole time, and we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the little gap you see there, and then once again slip stitch into the next stitch to just make sure it's all really tight and won't come apart. And then go ahead and fasten off. So now that you've completed your first granny square, you have a bunch of these tiny little threads sticking out everywhere. You're going to go ahead and take your little needle we showed in the very beginning. Mine's plastic, yours can be plastic or metal, doesn't matter. And you're going to want to thread all of those needles in to just get them out of the way. You can do this at the end or you can do this now. I prefer to do this now just to have them out of the way. So the way I do this is I thread in, as you can see. It doesn't matter very specific, you just want to make sure you're staying with the color that you have on your thread. And I make sure that I end on the back side of the granny square. So in order to tell which side is the back side, it's the petals, the side that the petals don't puff up on. So I go ahead and cut as close as I can to the granny square, and boom, now you just have to do the rest of your threads. Once you've finished doing all of your threads, you need to make 4 more granny squares, so you have a total of 5 granny squares for your hat. So go ahead and pause the video, go back to the first part and make 5 total granny squares and then come back. So now that you have your 5 granny squares, you're going to want to assemble them out, lay them out on a table kind of like I'm doing here, so that we can assemble them all together into this kind of like plus sign shape. Now you want to make sure that all of your your granny squares are face up, like outside face up, if that makes sense. Where your petals are puffed up, you want to make sure that that's what you're looking at and you're not looking at the back side. So you want to put front side to front side like I just did there, and you're going to attach them by single crocheting all the way across. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that right now. You're going to take your green yarn, take the 2 granny squares like so. Flipping them over like that just makes sure that you don't accidentally sew in like the wrong way. So make sure front ends are facing each other, and go ahead and put your hook through the corners of both pieces and pull through your yarn. Pull through your yarn, both pieces, and go ahead and double knot it, kind of like we did when we're changing colors. Careful not to get it twisted around like I am here. Then you're going to want to make sure they're you want to try and keep them lined up. Insert your hook and pull through a loop to work with. So now that you have a loop to work with, you're going to insert your hook. I like to pull through one just to kind of make it tight. And then you're going to want to insert your hook into the stitches of both squares to attach them. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 stitches. So that's just a single crochet. You just want a single crochet all the way across, making sure that you keep both stitches on both squares lined up so that at the end you end up being on the corner pieces as well. And you're just going to want to do that all the way across. And then go ahead and come back when you're done. So now that you've finished all the way across, it should look something like this. Kind of has like a seam. Luckily the seam is going to be on the inside of the hat, which is why you sewed them together facing the way you did. So I usually lay it back down to kind of figure out which one goes next. And then you just pull up the next granny square and you do exactly what you just did, but to the next granny square. And you're going to want to go ahead and single crochet all the way across, like so. And just do that with all the remaining granny squares until you have them all attached together, like so. So once you have all of them attached together like this, you're going to want to move it, kind of make an X, and fold it over to see where you want to attach on the sides, like where I just pointed. So you're going to attach down that way, and then you're going to go ahead and fasten off at the end of that and attach down the other side, making sure outside's facing in like so that the seams are on the inside of your hat. So go ahead and bend your hat, kind of fold it around, try and figure out how to attach the next sides. Okay, so now you have all your pieces put together and you have a bunch of little threads. So you're going to do what we did in the beginning and take your threading needle and go ahead and thread them away. I like to thread along the seam that we just made because it makes it invisible. So once that's all done and everything is threaded in, you're going to go ahead and flip your hat inside out? No, it is inside out. Flip it around so that the outside is on the outside and the inside's on the inside. And now we're going to do the rim, or what is it called? The brim? Yeah, you know, the little end part of your hat that keeps the sun out of your eyes. We're going to go ahead and get started on that, which is the final piece of our hat. So go ahead and attach green yarn the same way we've been attaching. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call what we're doing next, labeling them by rounds, just so it doesn't get too confusing. So you're going to go ahead and pull through your yarn like this and chain 3 to start round 1. And once you chain 3, you are going to do 3 double crochets, but we are only working in the front loop. Okay, so on a stitch there are 2 loops, and I'm going to try and get as close as I can to show you, but we are only working through the front loops through this entire round 1. You want to make sure to remember that or it won't look right. So do your 3 double crochets, only working through the first loop. And then you're going to do an increase. So that's 2 double crochets in 1 stitch. Still make sure that you're working through the front loop only. So you do the second double crochet in the same stitch that you did the first one in. This is what's known as an increase. So you're going to do this all the way around. 3 double crochets, increase, 3 double crochet, increase, all the way around. This is where your stitch counter comes in. I use my stitch counter to put it on the beginning of the round just so I can see where I started, so I know when I'm at my end. So go ahead and come back once you reach your stitch counter. Okay, now that we've gone all the way around, it should look something like this. There should be a tiny little like ring all the way around, kind of like a brim from working through the front loop only. And we're going to go ahead and attach by slip stitching into that gap. And then we are going to be doing round 2. So you're going to chain 3 to start round 2. And it's going to be the same thing we just did, except we're working in the full stitch. We're not working in front loop only, we're working through the full stitch. So 3 double crochets and an increase, 3 double crochet, increase all the way around the brim. Be sure to work through the entire stitch for this round. As you can see, I use my stitch counter again just to know when to stop. So go ahead and do the whole round 2 and come back. Okay, now that round 2 is done, we're going to take off the stitch counter and we're going to slip stitch to finish off round 2. And then once again, it's very repetitive, which makes it easy. Chain 3 to start round 3, and you're going to do 3 double crochets and an increase, working through the whole stitch. For the rest of the hat, we will be working through the whole stitch, no more front loops. So for round 3, exactly like round 2, 3 double crochets and an increase all the way around until you get back to your stitch counter. Okay, now that you are done with round 3, we can go ahead and take off the stitch counter and slip stitch to finish off round 3 and start round 4. This is your last round, and it is exactly the same as 2 and 3. You're going to start by chaining 3, doing 3 double crochets and then an increase, and repeating that all the way around the brim until you reach where you started, which if you use a stitch counter, you should know exactly where that is. And this is your final round. It's the home stretch. We're almost done. Make sure once again that you're working through the full stitch, not a front loop only. Okay, and now that you have completed your round 4, you're going to take off your stitch counter, slip stitch to finish it off, and be sure to slip stitch into the next stitch just to make sure that it doesn't come unraveled. I even do up to like 2 more slip stitches just to make sure it stays, and then you can go ahead and fasten off. And you should have 2 threads to weave in, so go ahead and get your thread needle and go ahead and weave in your ends like we did earlier with our granny squares. And that is your bucket hat. You did it. Congratulations. If you got anything out of this video, please like and subscribe and comment and let me know who you made your hat for. Thanks for watching.
Fuck. Down, yeah. I've been feeling so down, yeah. Can you tell me why? Can you tell me why?